Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff, and today we're delving into another frightening instance from this high-profile occurrence occurred in the mid-2000s. Shocked America, capturing headlines. Baffling investigators, it took years of relentless pursuit before the criminal was ultimately brought to justice. Which made this case particularly perplexing was the lack of a clear motive, and the fragmented nature of the many found the evidence difficult to trust. That the accused could commit such horrible conduct, the probe lingered on. For over 6 years as authorities, I struggled to put together the puzzle. Even experienced investigators admitted they'd never seen something quite like it at the heart of their careers. This tragic saga has a complex web of love triangles, double betrayals, overlooked omens. Jason Young comes from Brevard, North Carolina. Born in 1974 and after high school, he came from an ordinary family. I pursued higher education at Excellent University in Raleigh. State capital, after graduating, I got a job as a salesperson at a major retail chain, where he immediately distinguished himself as his friends described him, as fickle in terms of relationships, earning him a reputation as he did not seem to mind being called a womanizer. Michelle Marie Young, formerly Michelle. Pfizer was born in New York in February 1977, raised with her younger sister. Meredith Mishmel have a tight bond. Linda is the mother of her family. She devoted herself to her daughter. Nurturing their abilities and aspirations, Michelle had a passion for law and economics from her school, imagining a future in those fields following graduation from high school. She applied to various universities. Finally, I earned acceptance from one in North Carolina's capital. A young woman dedicated herself to her, studies at the Faculty of Economics and Law, eventually getting a master's degree in the field. Following graduation, Michelle secured a top position at one of the state's top accounting firms. Transitioning from a hardworking student to a successful professional, she discovered she is financially secure and full of aspirations for future to celebrate her 24th birthday. Michelle wanted to gather her close ones, friends and co-workers at one of the city's most popular entertainment venues. Amidst the lively atmosphere, the unexpected encounter happened when a stranger accidentally ran into Michelle, caused her beverage to spill. Quick to apologize, the stranger, Jason. Young quickly replaced her drink. Jason is fascinated by Michelle's charisma, engaged her in conversation, exhibiting a combination of humor and wit. As they interacted at the end of evening, Jason summoned the guts to ask Michelle out on a date. It's worth noting that Michelle discovered the casual acquaintance alluring, and I accepted his invitation. Considering it as Michelle received a birthday gift from fate, Jason started to communicate more, found they had many interests. Both had attended the same university. Despite a 3-year gap in Jason's graduation, they connected over their support, the same hockey team, and shared a liking for a certain music. Grouped their romantic connections, grew swiftly. But the concept of living together or getting married appeared initially, it seemed far-fetched. Their relationship, Jason still resided, with his parents in Brevard alone, visiting Michelle and Raleigh this weekend, or during business trips to the capital. However, during one of these rendezvous, Michelle unleashed a surprise. Pregnant, this revelation stunned them. Both felt unprepared for parenthood was their primary focus, careers, and weren't ready to start one. Jason was open with his family. Reservations, while Michelle, after much consideration, it was agreed to keep the baby. It took Jason around a month to finally reassess his viewpoint, deciding to relocate to Raleigh to be closer. To Michelle during her pregnancy, several months later, the couple decided to officially tie the knot. Not because of love, or caused by pregnancy, but mostly Michelle lacked health insurance. Marriage would help relieve the financial burden of Cassidy, is their daughter. Elizabeth Young was born during the spring. 2004 marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The newlywed mother sank headfirst into the whirlwind of domestic life and family, responsibilities with support from her mother and younger sister. Michelle's family, however slightly apprehensive of Jason, accepted him. Trying to prevent confrontations in same year, the Young family now had a child moved to their large home. In a calm, well-kept neighborhood during visits from Michelle's mother, Linda assisted during housekeeping activities. She observed an underlying conflict within the family Jason's explosive nature frequently led. Michelle is prone to outbursts, continuously work to resolve issues. She portrays herself as a content wife and mother in public, but she confided in her mother regarding the underlying dynamics of their relationship. A foreboding sign arose when Michelle realized she was pregnant again, just 2 years later. Cassidy's birth, hesitantly sharing the news with Jason, who shockingly answered calmly and appeared delighted. The couple are anxious to express their joy, traveled to Brazil to personally inform Jason's parents after a joyful celebration with relatives. They left their girl under the care of her grandparents to enjoy a celebratory dinner, tragically, on their way home. Jason lost control of the automobile, drifting, but they went off the road into a ravine. Michelle escaped with minor injuries. I had a miscarriage because of emotional strain of the young woman was greatly affected by the accident, troubled by Jason's unexpected composure. After the disaster and the loss of their child's seeming apathy sparked suspicions and left her unsettled, Linda Fisher, Michelle's mother, would. The accident was later referred to as ominous, sign that was overlooked at the time. The pair had a mutual buddy from during their university days, Michelle Manny. They hadn't seen each other. For some time in the spring of, in 2006, just before the disaster, Jason and I reconnected with Manny during work. During the journey, he reported the event to his wife, and they agreed to invite Manny. During the man's visit, she opened up, discussed her own marriage problems, relationship problems contrasted with congratulations on Jason. Michelle's pregnancy at the period did not first discover man's conduct disturbing rather than desiring to provide comfort and support to her. Friend, however, Jason understood this differently, interpreting it as a green light. For action, what began as friendly support and casual flirtation rapidly escalated to something. Jason and Michelle Manny started communicating almost daily, sneaking off meet each other behind Michelle's. Jason has constantly justified his absences due to business trips, and wife remained unaware of any suspicions during the summer of 2006. Michelle enthusiastically shared with her husband that she was pregnant again, but his reply was anything but cheerful. Perplexed by his sudden change, Michelle ascribed it to they recently had a miscarriage. Without Michelle's knowledge, Jason was aggressively considering how to sever their marital ties with minimum fallout for himself by early November. Michelle is 5 months pregnant. Jason went on yet another business trip, this time driving 300 kilometers from he drove home in his own car, although strategically reserved a hotel room. Midway through the journey that evening, Michelle confided with her best buddy, over the phone discussing the escalation problems in their marriage, referencing a recent disagreement with Jason after her departure. She retired to bed. Meanwhile, Jason is with her daughter. Upon arriving at the hotel, meticulously scanned the area and plotted his depart and return unseen, crafting what he imagined it would be the ideal alibi for his sinister scheme in the early hours. In the morning, Jason contacted Michelle's sister, claimed that he required assistance with a surprise anniversary. He made up a narrative regarding the present. I mistakenly sent a web page to them, home fax machine, fearing Michelle would discover the gift prematurely, despite her worries about Jason. Meredith, Michelle's sister, has agreed to help when you arrive to Michelle's place. Meredith utilized a concealed garage entry, known only to family members. The house was oddly quiet. Michelle's belongings are untouched. In the corridor, she discovered a terrifying scene. As Meredith ascended on the stairs, she observed the bedroom door, gaping open, but her calls to her sister and niece went unanswered. Upon entering the room, she was faced with a terrible scene. Michelle lay motionless. A broken skull was found on the floor. Leaving the room was left with a pool of blood, splashed with crimson stains, walls, furniture, and little footprints commemorate the disaster beside her. Unfortunately, Michelle had succumbed to her. Injured hours earlier without any aid, Meredith reached out with eagerness. Emergency services, but her concentration was diverted by a rustling sound beneath bed. There she found little Cassidy, unharmed but plainly shaken, the child having witnessed her mother's death. Spent hours by her side, as shown by the marks on the floor and the toy she possessed brought to her mother's side afterwards. Examination by forensic experts revealed a terrifying revelation. Michelle's body bore a numerous bruising, abrasions, and fractures indicating a protracted her teeth were subjected to a brutal assault. Knocked out and her skull cracked by the murder weapon is a blunt and hefty object. Remained elusive. A blood-stained A-cushion lay beside the victim, suggesting she was smothered in it. Surprisingly, no things were reported stolen. From the house indicating the intruders, the main intent was, interestingly, there were no traces of the murder. Of forceful entry implies the perpetrator held a key or information of the secret door, known only to family members, as is typical in such instances. Jason became suspicious of his spouse. He had what seemed to be an excellent alibi. He claimed to have checked into his hotel, remained in the room till the morning, attend a scheduled business meeting. Afterwards, hotel records confirmed used the room key card to enter departure, but a thorough inquiry discovered disparities. For example, the hotel employee found the emergency. The exit is propped open with a pebble, early in the morning, preventing it closed when surveillance footage was. Reviewing it showed the identity of the individual. It became clear that the extremely surveillance cameras are vital to the investigation had been intentional. Disabled on the night of the crime. Adding to the intrigue, its recording halted almost 30 minutes later. Young checked into his motel room. The anomalies did not end there. The surveillance footage revealed a male, resembling Jason's stops for gas station between the hotel and the crime. However, when asked for, he refused to provide identification, and instead chose to pay in cash before quickly leaving without waiting for change at the gas station. The attendant later recognized the man as Jason Young has adamantly denied any involvement, claiming he had spent the night at his motel. Another abnormality has surfaced in the Young placed multiple calls. Michelle Manny on the day leading up the tragedy with a flood of calls. Taking place closer to the morning of, incidentally, he made 5 fast calls to his mistresses lasted little more than 15 seconds. This quick series of calls hinted at Jason's potential panic. What's notably, all of these calls were located outside the hotel where he said that they stayed the entire night. Additionally, he was late for a planned business meeting with his partners appear, obviously. Confused, despite these peculiarities, none of this evidence, whether considered alone or collectively definitively incriminated Young murders his pregnant wife for over 3 years after despite the horrible tragedy, Jason continued his life. Additionally, he won custody of his young daughter suffered a serious hit. By then, he had met the relatives of his deceased wife. He had stopped hiding his closeness with Monty, who had previously been acquaintances with Michelle, was slain. This only increased the suspicions that Young participated in the terrible crime, despite being arrested at the end. In 2009, the jury failed to reach a unanimity notwithstanding the substantial evidence against him. However, the case reopened in 2012 with the collection of further evidence and testimony. Witnesses who saw Jason Young in several areas outside the hotel on the night of the murder, this evidence observations of his conspicuous white automobile parked near his own home. In an illuminated lot on the night the case also involved a homicide. Testimony of a child psychologist who described Cassidy's creepy doll, play in which the girl emulated her. Her father assaulted her. Manny, the mother, also took the stand. Witness in court, she admitted that Jason was unfaithful to his wife with her. However, he justified it by claiming he is terribly unhappy with his family life. Sentiment he shared with another past mistress of the defendant admitted that she scared him. Outbursts of anger and violence when Jason lost control following a lengthy trial. Young was eventually convicted of he severely assaulted his pregnant wife. I was condemned to life in jail without the prospect of parole in 2014. Jason, who was convicted, has filed his first appeal. It was denied, despite another try. In 2018, a panel reviewed his case. The State Court of Appeals once again denied Cassidy was left virtually or her mother was slain, and her father imprisoned for her crime. She is now being raised by her aunt and mother grandparents. Thank you for watching that. Ends today's episode with Sam.